Hi guys, I'm Emma Rose from the Challenger Learning Center of Northwest Indiana, which is where I'm at right now. And here with us today is Kevin DeBruin, a former NASA scientist, and I'm going to have him talk a little bit about himself first. So I'm going to hand it over to you.
All right, thank you. Hey, everyone. So my name is Kevin J. DeBruin. I'm a former NASA rocket scientist. That's right. I know how to design spaceships and have sent some to outer space. I worked at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory that we just call JPL in Pasadena, California, right by Los Angeles. We're the ones that do all the robotic exploration. Those Mars rovers you see, that comes out of our facility. And I'm not a NASA rocket scientist anymore because I fell in love with educating about space, teaching people space. So I started my own space education company where I come to kids like you. I teach space camps. I go all around the world teaching space.
Oh, yes. And I have seen that you, my first encounter with you was I saw that you were at the South Korean Challenger Learning Center, which is one that
Yes.
I always dream of visiting. And so I wanted to know, I have a question about it, that you were in South Korea. What exactly did you do there? I know you did a rocket class, but I want to know more about it.
Yes, every summer except for the COVID summer we just had, I go to South Korea and we teach a space camp, an English-speaking space camp to kids. And by we, I mean it's me and many other members of NASA and people that were in the aerospace industry. They could be working at Lockheed Martin, but they all know the organizer well, who is one of our principal investigators at NASA. She's a scientist, Dr. Morgan Cable. And we go there and we run two space camps. They're each about 4 days long, and we're teaching the kids everything from rockets to submarines to spectroscopy, geology, and then we go into the CLC itself and do mock missions to Jupiter and do experiments in the back.
That is so cool. Yeah, I am dreaming of going to that one day. I watched one of your videos where you were there, and I was like, it blows my mind how cool and like high tech it is. Because ours is great, but it's something different over there. It is so cool.
I know. I wish I could have gone to that as a child. Like
Right?
as an adult, I love it. So when the kids aren't there the week before camp while we're prepping, we all put on the costumes and we go in there and do our own CLC missions.
I love to hear that. So I want to know, bouncing off of Challenger, what do you think makes Challenger special, different, and why do you choose to, work with Challenger? I was very excited when you said you would do something with us. So I just want to know what inspires you to work with Challenger.
Yeah, anything really that has the effect to inspire and educate children. And I think Challenger is amazing. Out of the unfortunate Challenger disaster where we lost Kristen McAuliffe, like this came to life.
Yeah.
Right. So we took the negative and turned it into something positive. And it's always keeping that memory alive too, which is why I like to really work with Challenger, because when you hear astronaut, everyone thinks, most people think it could be you have to be in the military or you have to be a genius, you have to be a rocket scientist to do that. And no, Kristen McAuliffe, a teacher, a civilian, was one of those astronauts. So it shows that other people can go to space.
Yeah, you are so right. I know they're doing, SpaceX is going to be launching some civilians into space soon. So I'm going to kind of move back in time. Why STEM? What made you interested back when you were a kid? Where did it all start?
It all started with the movie October Sky. You heard of that one?
Yep.
So for the young kids, you might not know what October Sky is. And it's a movie that came out when I was about 10 years old. And it's about a boy who sees the first satellite ever, Sputnik, go across the night sky, like a shooting star. And that inspired him to build rockets. And he got his friends involved and eventually won a science fair, went on to college and became a NASA engineer training astronauts. So I saw this movie when I was a little kid. I'm just sitting on the living room floor with my legs crossed, just like this, looking at the TV. I'm like, wow, like space is cool. Like I want to design spaceships for NASA. I had no idea what that actually meant when I was 10 years old, but that's what I wanted to do. And it took a long time to actually make that dream come true. But October Sky, it's the movie. So like some people that I work with say Star Trek, some say Star Wars, some nowadays are saying, Gravity or Interstellar or The Martian. So it was a Hollywood movie that got me here.
I definitely get that. So I know you mentioned this in your book as well, but as you said, it took a lot of hard work. What was that schooling like? I know you have graduate, master's, just, take us in and tell us how that schooling went and all of that.
I like to start off by saying I went all the way to the 19th grade, right? I counted it all up, 19th grade. That's pretty far. So I started off, I graduated high school, and in high school, I took a lot of electives. So those are the classes that you get to choose. So I picked like computer programming, building, using machine work, doing architect, drafting, anything that was on a technical or engineering side to try and get my skills, filled up before going into college. And then I went on to college and I got a bachelor's in mechanical engineering because I was talking to a lot of people, and I'm like, what kind of experience do I need to design spaceships? And mechanical engineering and aerospace are the top two engineering, and then there's electrical engineering and a few others, but I chose mechanical because I like how things actually go together and like the physicality of it, and I can build something and make it work. So I went to University of Wisconsin-Platteville, not too far away from Indiana over there, and got my bachelor's in mechanical engineering and a minor in business administration, because I was told that would be really helpful in leadership, communication, managing teams and projects. And then I was applying to NASA internships at this time. I was actually working at Woodward Governor, now known as Woodward Inc., in Rockford, Illinois, and they do the fuel controls for jet turbine engines. So I was working on like the F-22, the F-35, the fighter jets that are out there. I'm like, that's cool, but I want space. I want to go there. I want to explore these planets. So it took me 3 years and over 150 applications before I got my first NASA internship.
Oh, wow.
I could only apply to 50 a year, and I would either not hear anything, or there was once actually I got one interview and I didn't get the job, but he's like, you're good, but we're going to rehire the last guy. I'm like, oh, well, I was close. He's like, so just don't give up. So eventually I got one.
Yeah.
I got an internship at NASA Langley, and it was at that point that I realized if I really wanted to be a full-time NASA engineer, I had to go on to graduate school. So I looked at all the graduate schools that were out there, and I looked at what research they were doing. Not just, ooh, this is a cool school, but what is the specific project I'd be working on? And I found Georgia Tech, and I applied to Georgia Tech, and they said, we regret to inform you that you have not been accepted.
No.
Yeah. So I'm like, this is the dream school. This is where I want to go. What do I do? So I emailed them back, and I was like, I'm sorry, I wasn't able to live up to the specific qualifications or expectations. What can I do? And a conversation ensued over the next couple of weeks, which eventually they were like, okay, we see how passionate you are about wanting to come here. You can come. We've opened up a spot for you.
That is so awesome. That just shows literally how much drive and passion can get you places. And that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. The story's not over yet. So they accepted me, but they're like, you have to pay your own way. And I live in Wisconsin. So I was going to school in Georgia. They're like, it's going to be, like $80,000 a year or something. And I'm like, I don't want to take out a loan that big. So I called every single aerospace professor asking for a job. And I found one who gave me an interview. It was on like a Sunday evening. And at the end of the interview, he's like, okay, Kevin, I hear you. I would like to offer you a full ride tuition and a job where I'm going to pay you to do research so you can cover your living expenses.
Oh my gosh.
So there we go, free school.
Oh, this keeps getting better.
Right? I'm not even at NASA yet.
Yeah.
Right? So now I set my sights on NASA. JPL is where I want to go because they do, they do the robots. I like the robotic exploration. I want to go out to these distant planets that we see above me. And I went through 3 rounds of interviews with them. The last one, they fly you out to NASA and you spend 8 hours with them interviewing with multiple different people. You have to give a presentation in front of a room and they ask you questions. I'm like, okay, I did it all. Like, I'm going to get this job.
Oh no.
2 months later, nope, didn't get the job.
Oh no. Oh,
so that was tough. So again, I'm like in the Georgia Tech situation where it's like, this is my dream job.
Yeah.
I really didn't apply anywhere else, so I could put all of my focus here. Not the best move if looking back on it, because it didn't work out. I'm like, well, what can I do? Well, while I was at Georgia Tech, I was doing research with NASA JPL
Mhm.
as one of my projects. So I called my mentor over there. And I was like, is there anything you can help me out with? He's like, well, I can give you a 10-week temporary internship, you
Ooh.
know? And he's like, that's it. You have to find a way to get hired full time during those 10 weeks. I was like, okay, because graduation is coming up in 2 months. So
Yeah.
I graduated without a full-time job, just a 10-week temp job. And then during that time, for the first 5 weeks, I just worked. Like I kept my head down. Like I showed initiative, really trying to show my work ethic. And then the last 5 weeks, I went knocking on doors and had over 30 interviews asking people to hire me.
Yeah.
So then it's the last day of my internship, and my boss comes to me and she's like, Kevin, it doesn't look like anything's come through for you. We can try and extend your internship 2 weeks and give you some more time. And I was like, okay, like, let's do that. And like, I go upstairs, start filling out the paperwork, and then I come back down. And someone else comes up to me and she's like, you know what? Maybe you shouldn't extend the internship. Maybe you should just go home and spend a little bit of time with your family. I'm like, oh, so I had a conversation earlier with her that she's like, I can't officially tell you when I can give you a job, but I can tell you to go home and have some relaxation time. So when she gave me the wink, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get a job. So I packed up my stuff, went home, and at this point I still don't have the job, right? It's like
Yeah.
3 weeks after I come home, I finally get a call. They're like, hi, this is NASA JPL, and we'd like to offer you a full-time job as a rocket scientist. And I'm like, okay, it's real.
That is so amazing. Oh my God.
It's a long story. Yeah.
Okay, because that people need to know that. They need to know it's a long process and stuff. It's not just, you graduate and you go. It's like, no, you got to really work hard. You
Yeah. I do want to add, though, that some people have it a lot easier, right? Some people graduate and get the job, right?
True.
But I didn't. So it shows it's not impossible, right?
Yeah.
Like, there are many different avenues that you can take. Never take no for an answer if you truly believe in yourself.
Yes.
And when I hear no, I just hear not right now, not this way. So I back up a little bit, kind of re-aim, and then come at it from a different angle.
And that's a very scientific way to look at things. So I really, really like that way of thinking, because that's very much like what NASA does with everything. If something goes wrong, they're like, okay, what can we do now to pivot? Which I am going to pivot and ask you, I had seen that you worked with the Europa lander mission concept, which we have been doing a lot with Europa, and about Jupiter. We are doing, I don't know if you've seen from Challenger Tallahassee, we've been working in collaboration with them, which I saw you collaborated with them once, that we are doing a Europa mission, a virtual mission to still be flying high with Challenger. So I wanted to hear about that Europa lander mission and all the stuff you learned about Europa so that I can pass it on to all the students.
I'll give you the juicy details.
Oh, yes.
So I'll be honest and say, I knew of the planets, but I didn't know about the moons in our solar system.
Yeah.
I didn't know about Europa until grad school, when that project from NASA came in, and it was called Europa Clipper. So there's 2 different NASA missions. I started on Europa Clipper, and I'm like, Europa? What's a Europa? I have a degree in mechanical engineering already at this point. So I go to Google and I look it up. Wow, this is interesting.
Cool.
So then I hear the brief about the presentation. I'm like, wait, you're sending a robot to orbit or fly around a place that has the most significant astrobiological potential, meaning the best place to find aliens.
Yes.
And I was like, wow. So it was at that point that I really fell in love with science. So I liked engineering when I was 10 years old watching October Sky. But it was that point in grad school, I'm 20 some years old, 23, I think, is when the science part really kicked it in. And I learned that, here's the bulleted list, right? That Europa is essentially a big ball of water that's frozen on the outside. It's the size of about our moon, but has 2 to 3 times as much water as all of Earth.
Yeah.
You're like, how is that possible?
Right.
Well, Earth's oceans, do you know how deep they are on average?
Not on average. I just know they're very deep.
Yeah, it's about 4 kilometers, right? Okay. So that's deep. And then our deepest point is the Challenger Deep in Challenger, in the Marianas Trench at 11 kilometers.
Oh my gosh.
Right. But on Europa, we think all over the average ocean is 100 kilometers deep. Oh, so that's just so much more water.
It's almost hard to like actually perceive it as like, a person who's not really engrossed in the science all the time or is just a novice. That's very hard to perceive that much water. And yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if we look at Earth, right, it's the blue planet, even though, Uranus and Neptune might argue with you on that one. But it's 71% water on the surface.
Yeah.
And Europa's smaller, like, the size of our moon,
Yeah.
but has more water than all of Earth times 2.
It's
Like,
insane.
that's nuts. And
Yeah.
the really cool thing about the water, right, is that when we find water on light or water here on Earth, that's where we find life.
Yes.
Which is why it's one of the key ingredients to looking for aliens.
Yes. Yeah. That's what we always tell kids. We're always like, is there life there? That's why we're looking at this mission, because we're looking at that water and everything, and it's a key component. So what was your part of the Clipper, the lander? What were you doing with all that?
So the official title would be systems engineer.
Yes.
Right. So I have a master's in aerospace engineering, but I use that aerospace to apply to systems. So systems means like everything. Maybe you've heard the phrase a jack of all trades.
Yep, that's all of us here. I know.
Yeah, that's pretty much what a systems engineer is. And if you think of a robot, I don't have a model of the Europa spacecraft, which I should probably get. But if you look at like the Mars rover here, you think of it as a really complex puzzle.
Yes.
And all of the pieces need to fit together perfectly. Right? There's no like cutting off a little piece to shove it in and make sure that that the overall picture looks roughly right. It's got to be perfect.
Yeah.
So my job as a systems engineer is to know enough about everything to make sure that the spacecraft can fit together.
Oh my God.
So, like specifically, one of the things is power. So do we have enough power? Curiosity and Perseverance, the rovers both have a nuclear generator like on the back. It's plutonium, where Clipper has solar panels. So are solar panels big enough, collecting enough sun to have enough energy to power our camera, to power the antenna, to power everything else? And when we start a spacecraft design, no, they're not big enough.
Yep.
They're as big as they can be, and everybody who's working on the spacecraft wants a certain amount of power. They're like, yes, give me this much power. And I'm like, no, you get this much power, and you get this much power. So I have to essentially manage everything that's going on in the spacecraft to make sure that it works together.
Wow, that
call it integrating the spacecraft. So putting together the spacecraft puzzle.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to tell our kids that when we're doing a mission, because they're multitasking and they're like, oh my gosh, this is so much. I'm like, okay, well, it could be that you have to know everything all the time. So that is definitely insane.
Yeah, just to give one super quick example on that. So let's say we have some moving parts, all right? And the moving parts, we have 3 moving parts right now, but we need 4, and it's going to grow. I work in kilograms, 3 kilograms, which isn't much. It's a small amount, but 3 kilograms translated to going on a rocket is going to be adding 500 kilograms, maybe, or more. So it's like that small change will ripple effect all the way up to, that costs a lot of money and a lot of fuel.
Yeah, that's a lot of changes that have to happen.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, that is super cool. So I want to know, after learning all about this NASA stuff, what was your biggest motivator? Was it to get to NASA, or was there somebody behind you that was motivating you? What was your biggest motivator?
That's a tough one. I think one of my biggest motivators was my mom and my family, like believing and supporting in me. And like, it's 2-part. Yeah, like one of my big motivators is the people who supported and believed in me, but the other one is actually the people who didn't. It wasn't like to show them like, yeah, look what I can do, but it's like, don't tell me I can't do it. Yeah. So like when I told people I wanted to work for NASA, I'm growing up in a small town in Wisconsin, 10,000 people, and they would laugh. Like in college, I told them what I'm doing and someone laughed at me. They're like, oh, you're serious? I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so that kind of fueled the, like, I don't want anyone to tell me that I can't do anything.
Yeah.
So that was a really big driver and motivator to prove to myself that I can do anything. And then also to like make my family happy and proud was a big thing. So like when I achieve something, my family gets happy, and that makes me happy to see them happy.
I like that answer. I like that. And I think it's an answer that a lot of people will take to heart, or something that just people need to hear. So I'm going to go back to you and your traveling and your teaching. What was your favorite place to travel, or will be, or has been?
So far, it's been Korea. That was the first place that that I went internationally, was to Korea. It was amazing because I really didn't get the international travel experience that most people get. They want us to really focus on teaching, so almost all of the other stresses are taken away. Like, we don't have to think about food, we don't have to think about coffee. It's just there. They're like, focus on the kids.
That's
And
awesome.
then the break between camps. So there's like, we're there for 3 days to prep. We have camp for like 4 to 5 days, and then we get like 3 days off. And in those 3 days off, like, we get the locals take us around and explore. So the employees of the CLC out there,
Yeah.
like, they bring us all around Seoul and like the DMZ, which is the border with North Korea that's demilitarized, to explore. And that really opened up my eyes culturally to what's going on in the rest of the world.
That is so cool. I can't even imagine. I want to go there so bad. I've seen, the first time I learned there was a Challenger Center was actually through a Korean drama. I was watching one, and the girl like worked there, and I was just like, hold on. There is a Challenger in Korea? What? So
Yeah.
that is so awesome. And you're just making me more excited to hopefully go there one day. This one is
Yeah.
oh, go ahead. What were you
It's part of an overall observatory. It's called the Songam Observatory.
Yes.
And they have a tram that takes you up to the top of the mountain. So the Space Camp and the Challenger are down, and then you go up the tram to the top, and they got the observatory, where they have the largest built South Korean telescope up there. And this is where I have to make a confession that a lot of people don't know, is I didn't look through a telescope until that night.
Oh my gosh. And what were you looking at exactly?
Oh, I saw Saturn's rings. That, like, so about 3 years before that, I realized, I'm like, all right, if I'm going to have my first time looking through a telescope this long, it's gotta be awesome.
Yeah.
So I held out to look at Saturn's rings through the largest telescope built in South Korea, and it was amazing.
I cannot imagine. That sounds so cool.
Yeah.
Now I need to make sure I travel there in the future.
And to everybody, don't wait like I did. Look through a telescope as soon as possible.
Yes,
Right?
yes. I had one as a kid, but I was never able to really get it to work super well. So I didn't really start looking until I came here, probably when I was like 18. So yes, do not wait. Get into
There was one in our basement, and I have no idea what happened to it. I remember seeing it. It's always in the corner.
Yeah.
But it didn't move the entire time I was living there.
All right. So this next question is going to be a little bit off topic. I need to know, what was American Ninja Warrior like? I was a big fan of the Japanese version. So when they brought it to America, I was like, oh, this is exciting. And I saw that you did that, and I'm like, I gotta know, what is that like?
I competed on season 9 and season 10 of American Ninja Warrior. And right now we're going on season 13.
Mhm.
So for season 11, 12, and 13, I actually now work with the show. So I don't compete anymore.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so you know how there's new obstacles that come out every year?
Yeah.
So when they design them and build them for the first time, they call me up and they're like, Kevin, we got something we want you to try out. Because you're not allowed to know what the obstacles are until you show up to compete. So because I work with them, I can't compete right now. But I get to, every 3 weeks, I go there and I play on the new obstacles, and we see if it's too easy, too hard. Is it going to be fun? Like, I'm a tall guy, I'm 6'4". Like, how does it different from someone who's like 5 feet to 6'4"? Like, will the obstacle work for both people?
Oh, that is so cool. I did not know that. That is so
Yeah, I enjoy it more because I just get to do it over and over again all year long instead of just the competition.
Yeah.
But that was exhilarating. Yeah, like, it was amazing. The first year I competed, like, I was running the course, and on the sidelines are a bunch of fellow rocket scientists chanting "Rocket Man" as I'm running through the course doing these obstacles, and it was a surreal feeling.
Yeah, that energy has to be exhilarating. When I even just watch it on television and there's those great runs, I'm always just like, ooh, this is fun. So I
Yeah,
can imagine in person.
it's also hard. Like,
I can tell. I know I
right?
cannot do it physically myself, but though it is very fun to watch people do it. So
And it's not just like physically hard, it's like mentally hard too. So
yeah,
like while we're training, you're just continuing to fail over and over and over again.
yeah,
And you got to pick yourself back up and figure out a way to make the obstacle yours.
yeah,
How can you get through it?
yeah,
So it's not just, do you have really good grip strength and pinchies and can you hold on for dear life? But you got to be able to figure out the obstacle and then not like psych yourself out about it, but like, oh, I can't do that. And I still do that sometimes, right? I still psych myself out, but I force myself to try out these new obstacles. Like, yeah, why that was easy. Why did I freak out?
that is definitely, a lot of people can take that into consideration for everything, not just American Ninja Warrior, but anything in their life. I know for myself, it used to be just psyching myself out for things, tests, speeches, anything. And then I get it over with and I'm like, what? That was easy. Why did I freak out? So I definitely like that lesson there too. Um, which brings me to a big question of what is something that you would say, you do say to all the young kids, young learners, kind of all ages, um, to get them to, continue and be interested in STEM? What would you say to them?
Whew. All of them?
Oh,
what what I love to do is like when I have a small group or like individuals, I like to figure out like why. I ask them, why they're interested in space. Like for me, it was October sky.
yeah,
Like I like to have each person know the reason they're getting into it, right? Like you're
yeah,
interested in STEM, and then as you grow older, a lot of people fall away from
yep,
STEM. Maybe science class was too hard, the teacher wasn't doing it well, math didn't work out, and it just didn't resonate with you. So on that why, like things got hard for me as we've already like experienced. Like I had to take math classes multiple times in high school and
mhm,
college too. And whenever it got hard, I went back to my why. So I would rewatch the movie October Sky. I would read the book that it's based upon, Rocket Boys. So it's like having that cornerstone. So like STEM is great and it's going to get a little bit difficult. Everything will get difficult, whether you want to be an artist, a hair designer, a manager, an accountant. STEM is difficult, just like the rest of them.
mhm,
Is in those moments where it gets difficult, or maybe you're not interested anymore, reach back to that initial inspiration. It's
yeah,
looking through a telescope. Go look through a telescope again. Like the motivation isn't like a one-time thing where you punch your ticket and then you ride the train all the way to the end.
yeah,
It's like there's many stops along the way and you need a new ticket each time. So you need to renew that motivation
yeah.
as you go on.
That is so true. I mean, I love that. I won't take too much time of your time up anymore. So I just have one more question, and it's
Oh,
about your YouTube channel, a place called
ah,
Space, which is where you are located at. And look at that. Um,
yep.
so how did you come up with the idea for that? I saw, was it kind of inspired by the pandemic and having to be home and not being able to
Yeah.
travel and share that message? I just want, you have so much energy on it. So I'm like, what inspired you? What inspires you every day with that content?
The channel was planned to start after the pandemic.
Okay.
I was gonna start doing or releasing videos in the summer because I'm like, oh, kids will be out of school. They need a way if they're interested in space or interested in STEM to keep on and going. And I'm like, a lot more availability in the summer. Okay, I'm gonna launch a video a week during the summer.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the pandemic hit, in February, March, and school shut down. And I'm like, I need to do something now.
Yeah.
Like schools are done, people are zooming in, or like they don't know what to do, parents overwhelmed. I'm like, I've Skyped into schools, like I've done this. I'm like, let's go live every single day at 9 a.m. my time,
Mhm.
so that it can be 11 o'clock your time, 12 o'clock on the East Coast, so that I can cover everyone across America
Yeah.
and give the teachers and the parents an hour break
Yeah.
of just like sit, watch this guy go crazy, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it started with that, where it's like, how can I use my skills and my talents right now to help out people who are disadvantaged during the pandemic,
Yeah.
specifically with schools and at-home students. So I went live every single day because we were just supposed to be closed down for 2 weeks,
Yep.
right? And then 4 weeks after that. So I'm like, and then after a month, I'm like, every single day is a lot of work
Yes.
to do this on a whim, where I've got my whiteboard here. I would plan it out and go through what's the lesson, what am I talking about, always having props, Like, it's
Yep.
not just me showing slides. I'm like, let's make a Hubble Space Telescope out of the paper towel and aluminum foil.
Hey, we love that kind of stuff. So
So like it worked. And then I started to burn out a little bit. So I'm like, okay, we're going to do it every Tuesday and Thursday until the end of school.
yeah.
And then when the end of school came, I took a little break because then I started to put together the videos that you're seeing now,
Yeah.
where I'm releasing one a week every Thursday at 11 p.m. Central Time. Funnily enough, I was nicknamed Kevin at 11 by people in the Midwest.
Oh, I love that. No, I'm going to use that.
So like those videos, I wanted it to be more short form, that's more entertaining, so you don't have to watch this 30-minute to an hour to learn the intro to the solar system, or like, why is Mars red? I can give that to you in like 5 to 6 minutes.
Yeah.
And to keep going on that. So where the inspiration comes for the channel, like why I want to do it, is I'm also trying to get on TV with selling or like teaching on TV, whether it's Netflix, Discovery, so I can reach a wider audience. And I'm like, what do I have at my disposal right now to educate?
Yeah.
And we're in the age of the internet where anyone anywhere can watch anything at any time.
Yep.
Like, I have a TV studio right here in my phone.
Yep, right in your pocket.
So let's make it happen.
Yeah.
So I started, been doing that, releasing one video a week every Thursday. And yeah, it's the motivation and inspiration comes from like the feedback I'm seeing, and also just the feeling I have. Yeah. I enjoy making these videos and educating. It's great when the view count goes up, so I know more people are getting it. I know at least one person, my mom, watches every one, and she's learning, right? My mom, who's a grandma now, is continuing to learn about space, things she had no idea.
Yeah.
Right? And some of the best comments I get are actually from the parents, where they're like, I was watching this with my kid, but dang, like, you do a good job. Like, I didn't know that. Like, you make it understandable. So I want a way to bring space down to Earth.
Yes.
Like, I use my inflatable planets, right? I use props. I try and make it fun and exciting and not boring. So many people just use animations, or like they're just talking here and then something comes over the screen and there's a video of Jupiter. And I think our youth really would rather like have a tangible Mars than to see just a photo of Mars up here in the corner.
Yeah.
Like, why is Mars red? Well, let's take a look. It is red. Here it is. Gets the more tangible aspect of something that literally is intangible. All the things that we work on at NASA, besides like the moon back in the 60s and 70s, we literally can't touch. You send it and you just got to look at these photos so to make it as tangible and down to earth as possible. Because I think that's really where we can grasp and understand, and it makes it feasible. It's literally out of this world.
I completely agree. We definitely have learned with all these new ways of doing our missions, our labs, that having that tangible, hands-on, even just an individual hands-on activity, kids learn from that and adults learn from that so much better, and they have so much more fun, and we definitely get that similar feedback. So I love that. As I said, I'm not going to take up too much of your time, and that was my last question. So definitely, everybody, go check out a place called Space, and hopefully we do see you on Netflix. I would love that, and to watch a whole series on that. So thank you so much for coming out. Do you have anything left that you would like to say to our audience or to anybody just out on the void of space?
Never give up, right? Continue to chase those dreams. Let me serve as an example to you that, you can get through the tough times. You can make your dreams into reality. It's possible, no matter what your dreams are. And I will add this, a lot of people at NASA are scientists, engineers, technologists, or in the math, but there are other aspects too. We are a business, we have artists. They make the beautiful posters and drawings of these things that we can't actually see with our eyes and just interpret the data. So if you have a desire for space, there is a spot for you at NASA or any of the space industries that are out there.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Kevin, for joining us today. It was great to see you and finally meet you and get to have this chat. So have a great rest of your day, and we will hopefully be in contact again, and I'll see you hopefully somewhere on TV, YouTube in our future.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
and
you.
I will just end you with how I end my YouTube videos. Always be curious.